Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Language Lantern, where we illuminate the depth of literature. And today we dive into a powerful spoken word poem titled Beethoven by Shane Koyczan, a poem that doesn't just tell you about a man, but makes you feel his pain, his genius, and his music. So let's begin. So, Beethoven is a biographical poem written in free verse for grade 12 ISC curriculum, which means it is coming for the boards. It tells the story of this legend called Ludwig van Beethoven, who is a legendary German composer who, despite becoming deaf, created music that touched millions. So let's begin the poem. So the poem begins in a very powerful way with the commanding verb. So here the poet urges his readers to truly hear the untold story of Beethoven, and he wants us to give our 100% attention and not just be passive listeners to the untold story of Beethoven. His father made a habit of hitting him, so Beethoven was abused during his childhood, and the word habit suggests it was frequent, almost routine violence inflicted on Beethoven. See, some men drink, some men yell, some men hit their children. So, a reflection on how trauma is expressed through violence, through alcohol, through anger. And not all men are abusive, but many hurt in different ways. So, the concept of hurt men hurt others is what Beethoven's father is. So this man did it all because I guess all men want their boys to be geniuses. So Beethoven's father inflicted all the three forms of violence. That is, he drank alcohol, he yelled at him, and he even hit him. And here we get an ironic tone that justifying abuse by ambition. So here we get to know that abuse is justified for ambition. His father forced greatness through violence. Now we have the name Beethoven. So the subject is introduced. His name punctuates the trauma as if he became what he is in spite of it. So from being general, here we are talking about the specific person called Beethoven. Little boy living in a house where a name meant nothing. So Beethoven had no identity in his house. As a child, he was not treated with respect. Living in a house where mercy had to be earned through each perfect note tumbling up through the roof to tickle the toes of angels whose harps couldn't hold half the passion that was held in the hands of a young boy who was hard of hearing. So here we get to know that no compassion was shown to Beethoven unless he played music perfectly. Okay, and the word tumbling suggests effortful chaotic flow of notes. This little boy's music was so divine that it could reach the roof or the heaven to tickle the toes of the angels whose harps couldn't hold half the passion that was held in the hands of this young boy. There's a beautiful imagery which says that his music was divine, it even outdid the angelic harp. Okay, so we are talking about Beethoven. So, despite being partially deaf, see who was hard of hearing, Beethoven, he was partially deaf. So, young Beethoven had more passion than heavenly beings. So here we get to know the person who suffered and who even had passion for music. That person is called Beethoven. Okay, who heard his father's anthem every time he put to ivory. It was not good enough. So the word anthem talks about the repeated dominant message, okay, and his father's criticism. And the word ivory is nothing but the piano keys, which basically was made of ivory. It was not good enough. So the judgment he always received. So this line is nothing but the judgment he always received. So what did he do? He played slowly. He tried different ways to please, but he failed. So he played softly. It was not good enough. So he played strongly. It was definitely not good enough for his father. And when he could play no more and his fingers cramped up like a gnarled roots of tree trunk, it was not good enough. So what basically happened to young Beethoven? His fingers were like the gnarled roots. Gnarled is twisted and rough. Okay, his fingers were overworked, deformed from practice. It was not good enough. So it's a repeated emotional punchline talking about trauma, striving, and constant rejection. It talks about trauma, striving, and constant rejection. Beethoven. Okay, a musician without his most precious tool, his eardrums. So Beethoven lost his hearing, the most vital sense for a musician. He lost his hearing. A musician without his most precious tool, his eardrum, could no longer pound out rhythms for a symphonies playing in his mind. Symphonies, compositions, he composed without hearing, relying only on his imagination and memories. He couldn't hear the audience clapping, couldn't hear the people loving him, couldn't hear the women in the front row whispering Beethoven. So he was deaf to praise and appreciation. Talks about praise and appreciation. Okay, he was cut off from social love, from admiration and romance. Beethoven repeated like a refrain, haunted by his name, his story. As they left the music, as they let the music invade their nervous system like an armada marching through firing cannonballs, detonating every molecule in their body into explosions of heavenly sensation, each note leaving track marks over every inch of that body, making them ache for one more hit. He was an addiction. So, as they let the music invade the nervous system, this is how the audience felt when they listened to Beethoven. Okay, uh, it got into their nervous system. The music got into their nervous system like an armada. Armada is nothing but a fleet of warships. Okay, music takes over them powerfully like a military invasion. marching through firing cannonballs, detonating every molecule. That is, here we get to see an explosive imagery. Music shakes them to their core, molecule by molecule. Okay, and it describes how deeply his music affects his listeners, almost divine pleasure. Okay, each note leaving track marks over every inch of that body, making them ache. Track marks here refers to the marks left by drug use. His music is nothing but an addiction. He was nothing but an addiction. So listeners crave his music like addicts. Okay, his art was that powerful and irresistible. Okay, kings, queens, it didn't matter. The man got down on his knees for no one but amputated the legs of his piano. So he didn't serve royalty or even seek approval. Okay, so what did he do? Now that he cannot hear anything, the only way he can feel his own music is by amputating or cutting off the legs of the piano. Okay, he cut off the legs of the piano so the vibration would reach him through the ground or the floor. The man got down on his knees for music. The only thing he bowed was for his art. Okay. And when the orchestra played his symphonies, it was the echoes of his father's anthem repeating itself. So, what happens is, even in success, he heard his father's voice of judgment. Okay, like a broken record. Here there is a repetition of trauma. So the broken record, an overplayed stuck loop, emotional scars that won't stop playing. So, what did the anthem say? It was not good enough. So, they played slowly. Not good enough. So, they played softly. Not good enough. Though, so, they played strongly. Not good enough. So, this is nothing but the echoes of the past trauma, which is now universal. So, the musicians mimicked his struggle, his pain, his impossibly high standards. So they tried to mock the man, make fun of the madness. So others misunderstood him. So what did they do? They mocked his genius as insanity. By mimicking the movements, holding their bows a quarter of an inch above the strings, not making a sound, it was perfect. So they started to pretend to play. They were pretending to play, mocking his silence as deafness. It was perfect. So, what is the irony here? We understand what they did to mock him turned out beautiful. His silence held art. You see, the deaf have an intimacy with silence, it's there in their dreams. So, this is a profound statement. Silence is not emptiness. It's basically personal and it is sacred to the deaf. And the musicians turned to one another, not knowing what to make of the man trying to calculate the distance between madness and genius. They didn't understand Beethoven. Was he mad or was he a genius? They did not understand who exactly is Beethoven. Realizing that Beethoven's musical measurements, the distance reaching past the towers of Babylon. Okay, so what is meant by towers of Babylon? So towers of Babylon is a biblical symbol of human ambition and divine communication. His music could go beyond earthly limits, turning solar systems into symbols that crash together. Okay, his music had cosmic power. He could orchestrate the universe, causing comets to collide, creating crescendos that were so loud they shook the constellation until the stars began to fall from the sky. So, here we get to know there is an exaggerated celestial imagery. His music changed reality. Crescendo is the loudest point reached in a gradually increasing sound. And it looked like the entire universe had begun to cry. So, emotion reached a cosmic climax. He made the universe weep. So, distance must be an illusion. The man must be a genius. Beethoven. So, all obstacles, that is, obstacles like deafness, silence, are illusion. According to the poet, his talent proves he's a genius. Beethoven. So, Beethoven, his thoughts moving at the speed of sound, transforming emotions into music. So, he turned inner emotion, that is pain, joy, struggle, into sound at an extraordinary pace. And for a moment it was like joy was a tangible thing. So his music made emotions feel real and touchable, like they could touch it. Like for the first time we could watch love and hate dance together in a waltz of such precision and beauty. Okay, so music brought conflicting emotions together in harmony. Love and hate, conflicting emotions in harmony. That we finally understood that history wasn't important to know the man, his story transcended his life. His music spoke more than dates or events. To know the man, all we ever had to do was to listen. So, final lesson to understand Beethoven, not his pain, biography, or struggle. We just need to listen to his music. That's Beethoven for you. He's a legend. Thank you for watching this video and learning from me. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and curiosity brighter. Bye bye.